This is probably the most difficult study guide that I have ever made. And this is because not only we are talking about cognitive functions that I don't have, but also I don't really know any ENTJ. I don't know why, not even in school. I mean, I never really worked with them. I mean, is it personal? I want to know. Lucky me, I actually know the sweetest ENTJ in this world that helped me with a few questions that I have, and the reason why this video is happening is because of him. Otherwise, it would only be an excellent idea. So before we start, a little explanation of how this video is going to work. First, I'm going to talk about the cognitive functions, but in a really brief way. I'm not gonna go really deep on it because my point here is to talk about the study tips that I have. It will be 2 study tips for each cognitive function. Yes, it's a lot. This will be a long video. I have a lot to say. I'll let a timestamp on the description down below if you need it. And well, let's get this video started. First of all, we are going to talk about the dominant function for the ENTJ. This is the extroverted thinking. Thinking is a judging function. It's basically how your brain processes information. So when you got a new information and put it inside your brain, you need to do something with it. You need to see where exactly are you going to put this information and how you're going to work with it. The thinking is when you do this process based on logic. It's based on cause and consequences. What's the reason why something is happening? How is this thing working? You are trying to understand in a logical way if this makes sense or not. And this thinking is extroverted when the judge doing this process is the information itself that you are analyzing. It's really odd for me that don't have extroverted thinking talking about it, but I hope that this makes sense. Extroverted thinking is a way to understand the system. That's why it's always related to productivity and efficiency and all this kind of stuff. What makes sense to the system, it's what can work with it or at least improve it. If this information is not useful, if you can't put on the system and make it work, it's almost like it doesn't make sense to you. It has to have a purpose. It has to have a reason for it to make sense. Extroverted thinking, it's your dominant function, which means it's your ready to go way to approach the world. You can see why usually ENTJs don't have problems with school or work. I have like a million study tips just for the extroverted thing, but somehow I managed to get 2 really good study tips for you. And the first one is try to understand the language of what you are studying. This might sound a bit confusing, that's why I'm gonna give an example. When I was studying the basic subjects in high school, one of the things that I used to do is have like a dictionary where I put all the words and what exactly did it means. And these words are specific for the subject that I was studying. If you're talking about, I don't know, biology, you have a lot of words that have specific meanings. And when you get to know these words, what it really means, it's so much easier to understand the subject. This you can apply at all kind of things you can imagine. It may sound silly, but I swear to you, it will make a huge difference. And the other study tip, never forget to do some exercises like questions. I don't know exactly what word is this, but the thing about the extroverted thinking is that you always need to check if your logic makes sense or not, right? Because you can't just assume that something is right, it makes sense or not, and that's it, because you are not the judge. And the most effective way to do it is doing exercises just to see how you are, if you are getting better, if you are at the same place, what do you need to improve? Questions and exercises are the best way to see this because it's how you get this feedback. Extroverted thinking needs always a positive feedback to make it work. Not only that, but doing exercises is like a really active way of learning, so it's always marvelous. We saw the dominant function and now we are going to the second function, introverted intuition. Introverted intuition is a perceiving function, so the main goal here is not process information anymore, it's collecting them. The way that you will do this is based on intuition. What exactly is that? It's almost like the intuition that we used to say like day-to-day normal life, because it's a way to collect information based on ideas, concepts, things that are like not palpable. All those things you collect without noticing. Suddenly you collect so many information that you can not only know what's going on, but also figure out what can happen. That's why I think it's really close to what we usually say is intuition, because it's when you see that thing and you say, I think this is happening or this is going to happen, and I don't know how to explain it. It's hard to really put it words, how your brain are like connecting all these ideas and seeing different patterns. This intuition is introverted because the way that you collect this information, it's always narrowing it down. If you have a problem, for example, you're not going to see this problem and see different types of answers that go all over the place. You will do almost like the opposite. You will see how are the possibilities that can answer or solve this problem, and you will choose the best one to really make it work. The introverted intuition is what leads us to our next 2 study tips. Always do like a search before you really start studying. You see, I'm not saying here for you to study with different fonts, with a lot of books and articles and classes, blah blah blah. No, what I'm saying is, before you start studying, take a look of where is the best place that you can take that information from. Let your intuition do that job. When you have like a big picture, YouTube videos, I can use the class, I can use these notes from another students. Sometimes it's good for you to look at them, do a little bit of research, don't go like overboard with this, but do it a little bit so you can decide what is the best before you start studying. And the next study tip that I have for introverted intuition is to try to change your study method from time to time. I'm not saying for you to change it completely. When you are creating what is the best way for you to study, like I'm going to study with flashcards, or I'm going to write 1,000 notes, or I'm just going to read a book. These are really good things for you to have like structure and decided before you start, but it's also good for you to not be restricted to only one option. It's more about letting your intuition breathe a little bit. If you have one structure and really defined way to study, it can be a little bit boring almost for your intuition, because even though your intuition will always try to choose the best one, it needs to have options and possibilities around that for it to work the best way possible. And not only that, but our brain needs it as well. Take a step back and look at it in different ways, because when you do this, you are almost like letting your brain rest a little bit. I mean, if you are reading too much, go do some exercises, go see some classes, because you will work different places of your brain, and when you do this, the other place it's resting. I know this is a really rough way to explain it, but I hope that this is making sense. Okay, before we go to our next cognitive function, I have a thing to say. I really want to spend that time talking about the combination between the dominant function and the second function, because this is what I call the superpower of each personality type. For me, the mind of the ENTJ is almost like a really chess master. And I know it's a bit cliche, but I'm going to explain it. When you are playing chess, you are always thinking about the system itself. What makes sense or not, it's what moves you will do that will lead you to the winning. This is nonsensical because this is not making me win. In another hand, you have the introverted intuition. You can see different possibilities that will allow you to do that, and you can choose which one is the best one. This is just amazing to me, and this superpower, this mind, it's what leads us to our next 2 study tips. Always ask yourself why. Why is your question. If you are studying something, you have to always ask yourself why. Why is this working? Why do I need to learn this? Why does this make sense? Why is this answer correct and not this one? Why is the perfect way to put thinking and intuition together? Because this is just how your mind works. And this study tip is important not for the subject that you are studying, but also about the method you are using, because sometimes you have to ask yourself why. A lot of people say that there's no reason to do like a study guide based on your personality, because if you have this personality, probably you are already studied that way, but that's not absolutely true. We learn how to study, and everyone says so much that this is the best way to learn that we not necessarily are putting ourselves in it. We are not necessarily adapting it. The other study tip is to have a really well plan of how you're going to study, everything. It's more about knowing how you are going to study every subject that you have. How much time you will spend in this subject or in this one. Is this one more time demanding? A good way to do this is also asking another students that already did that subject how they manage it, because this will make things fast. But it's important for you to have this planning, because to be honest, I think it's important for everyone, but you have like an ability to make it. I know that you probably do it in a almost natural way, but when you put effort to something that you do without noticing, you really make it productive, faster, and really well done. The third cognitive function is the extroverted sensing. Sensing is a perceived function, like intuition. It means that it's a way to collect information, but the way to do it, it's based on our 5 senses. Sensing is something that it's palpable, it's something that you can put into words. It's a way that you and your body itself relate to the environment. The extroverted way to collect this information is when you base more on the environment than in your body. It's based on what is going on around you and what is going on now. The extroverted sensing, since it's the third cognitive function, it's what we call the child one. And that's because it can cause a lot of problems. You have to be always watching it. So yeah, you have a bit of problems with this function. But this is not like the worst thing ever, because since it's the child, it means you have always something to improve. You can get better at it. The first study tip that I want to talk about, and that's related to the extroverted sensing, is the environment matters. And what I mean is that sometimes ENTJs have this they really let themselves go, enjoy too much, party too much, and just do whatever is fun. In that moment, they want to enjoy that moment. It's like the child saying, I want this, give it to me, or I will cry until you do it. I'm not in a place here, to tell you to don't do it. But what I can tell you is the environment matters. And how do you put this inside your studies? Your academic life. The first thing is to have a really good students as colleagues, classmates, like the most close ones. You don't necessarily have to be friends, but create a relation of study together and having a routine together. And also about the teacher, having good teachers is not like something that you can control, but you can control your relationship with them. So you can be close to some teachers, because this will help you improve. It will give you the positive feedback that the extroverted thinking needs. And it's a way to also control a little bit the extroverted sense, because you are giving a structure to your environment, giving importance to things that are around you. And the other study tip that I have, you will hate this, but really you should have a schedule, like an agenda, a planner, or whatever. See really well what's going on when you are too much in the moment. Sometimes you are so in the goal, like I'm getting this done and I'm going to study this, that you are so in the extroverted moment, and you really handle this, then you really do the amount of things that you are saying that you can do. This can also stop you to say the details that could make your life easier. Those things that the introverted intuition would notice. Let's go to this way because it's better than the other one. And when you have like a planner or a schedule or anything like that, you can put like these chunks to see what are you doing and how much time you will spend on it, and you will be able to see if you can handle more things that you are already dealing with right now. If that's not your thing, like you don't always get things that are more that you can handle, but it's the other way, like you are not notice the details and your introverted intuition is not working that well, at least have a place where you can write almost like what you have to do. So, okay, to study this, I need to see this and these topics. When you do this, you stop to think for a while, calm down your extroverted sensing, because it's less about the environment and more about your process thinking. I know that you all think that you have this all solved because you are so good to planning that it's almost or in your head, but sometimes it's good to put things out. Okay, our last cognitive function, by our, I mean yours. This one is the introverted feeling. Feeling is a judging function like the thinking. They are both doing the same things, helping you process information. The feeling, it's all about the values, the morals. It's about what is wrong or right, or what is good or bad. The introverted feeling is when the person who are deciding what is good or not, or whatever, is you. Like the fact that someone said that to you. Maybe this makes sense or not, but is it good? Did it make any good to you? The introverted feeling, since it's the last function, is not that good. I have something to say to you about last cognitive function. The struggle is real. When you have to deal with it, ENTJs, they have this moment with the less cognitive function. I mean, we all have that moment with our less cognitive function when something goes wrong. And for the ENTJ, this something going wrong, it's when they don't achieve something, or even when they are really tired because they spend so much time studying and working that they didn't even notice they were like on the edge. It's a usual thing, like you are a human being, you have to stop to think about yourself. And when you do this, for the ENTJs, this is like the world is chaotic and it's going down.
It goes down.
It has a lot to do with self-improvement and knowing yourself really well and seeing what you like, what you really want, all this kind of stuff. It has a lot to do with studies. It's really important for you to do that, but it's not something that we will discuss in this video. This is not going to help you as much as working with the introverted feeling. I really suggest you to be close to someone that know how to deal with the introverted feeling really well. It's good for us to have people around us that are good on the things that we want to improve. So I really suggest you to do that. For now, what I have to say, the last 2 study tips for you to have goals when you are studying. And I know you have like a really big goal. You want good grades, you want to be, I don't know, the best student, or you want to get a job after you graduate or anything like that. Like this is a goal, okay, but you have to have a different type of goal, type that it will help you see what you have to do when you lost your structure. So something that you can look at and say, okay, this is really what I want. This can be a little more practical, like you want to study, I don't know, 2 hours a day, and this is like your main goal for this subject. And I will really suggest you to have these goals, write it down somewhere in your notes, on your cell phone, or post-its that you can put wherever. When you feel lost, it's important for you to get a direction. Goals are directions. When you have practical goals, then not necessarily is the ones that will solve your life problem and help you develop your introverted feeling, but these goals will at least help you keep holding on when you are in this strange moment of your life. The last study tip is do some breaks. Not only do them, but schedule them before you start studying. So let's suppose that you are going to study for like 8 hours. Don't study 8 hours straight, or I don't know, start studying and then when you notice that you are tired, you stop. Don't do that. Before you begin, decide to like, I'm going to study 2 hours and then I'm going to have a 15-minute break. Whatever it works for you. But have these things pre-established. Don't put yourself in the situation that you have to deal with your feelings. This is not like the best study tip that I can give you, I admit it. This is like the simplest way for me to help you, basically, right now at least. You will have to deal with your less cognitive function whenever you are in a chaotic moment, whatever a stressful situation is for you. In studies, don't matter what personality you are, but when you push yourself to the limit, you are putting yourself in a stressful situation, no matter how well you can handle the pressure of your studies. When you have these things like decided before you start studying, it's easier for you to do it because you don't have to be aware aware of it, something that you are not good. And believe me, breaks when you are studying are the perfect way to be productive. And I mean it. I know that it might sound in a way like a waste of time because you don't necessarily feel tired, so you could study for 4 hours straight instead of studying 2 and then pause and more 2. But there's a way to do these breaks in a really smart and productive way. And this is something that I will talk about in another video. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I will talk more about ENTJs and productivity and study methods and all those kind of things later. So yeah, I think this is it. I think we did it because not only I just did this much talking, but you are also here listening. So yes, I guess I'll see you on the next video. Bye.